Welcome to a new episode of More Than the Dress. My name is Michele Meyer-Shipp, and I'm the CEO of Dress for Success Worldwide. More Than the Dress is a podcast hosted by Dress for Success Worldwide, and we are the leading global nonprofit supporting unemployed and underemployed women as they achieve economic independence. Our podcast focuses on leadership, empowerment, and the stories of remarkable personal and professional journeys and amazing stories of women overcoming obstacles. We aim to go beyond the surface and dive into topics like strategies for career growth, well-being, navigating work-life challenges, overcoming that thing we call the imposter syndrome, and translating experience and talents into a strong professional brand. Today, I'm really excited to welcome you to a special episode that features a fireside chat with Jessica Berman, the commissioner of the National Women's Soccer League. Jessica spoke at our recent Women Who Inspire luncheon, and boy, what a conversation we had. During our chat, we dove into topics such as advocating for yourself and others through life and career challenges, being authentic, the art of listening, and the love language of accountability. It's a great discussion. So let's get to it. And I hope you enjoy our conversation with Commissioner Jessica Berman.
And I am so excited to have you. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. I want to start here. And I'm sorry for those of you who can't see me behind the podium. My apologies. When you think about women supporting women and women inspiring women, I want to start by us telling you the story of how this woman reached out to me and helped me when I was getting started in my new role. Jess, someone introduced us. I don't remember who it was, but we were introduced by a mutual friend, and that mutual friend just kind of connected us and said, hey, you guys should know each other. You're both two new CEOs. And I think we exchanged a text or an email or something. And then tell them what you did for me.
Well, it's what you did for me, actually. In 2022, I got this new role to be the commissioner of the National Women's Soccer League. And I realized in that moment that I did not have a peer group. I think a lot of us, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about this as women, we lean on communities. I certainly ascribe to the it takes a village mentality, both personally and professionally. And you've heard in your life that being a CEO is lonely. It definitely is. You lose access to people you feel like you can safely speak with. And as a first-time CEO, I immediately felt alone and that I didn't have a peer group. And so I sprung into action and called a good friend of mine whose name is Sunyin Siang, who you should follow on LinkedIn if you don't. She's an incredible executive coach and leader, and has written many books, and she runs the Executive Leadership Institute at Duke through Coach K with his leadership principles. And I called her on a Saturday and I said, would you lead a cohort of first-time CEOs who are similarly situated to me? And she said, of course. Who's in the group? And I said, I'm gonna have to actually create the group. And so I went on LinkedIn and literally cold called 12 first-time CEOs and asked if they would join this group with me. Michelle was one of them, and she and I participated in a monthly Zoom call with our cohort, sharing ideas, talking about how strange it is to be a CEO, how lonely it feels, what some of our shared challenges are, best ways for us to support each other. And it's an incredible group of people. We still stay in touch on email and text chains. But you helped me tremendously by saying yes to my request. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was an honor. And now look at this woman. She's killing it. So congratulations on all the things. So let's talk about the journey. Let's do that. Let's do that. So, here's the big question. Was this in your plan? How did this happen for you?
Sure. Well, I am one of the strange people who identified what I wanted to do when I was 16 years old. I knew at that time that I wanted to work in an industry that had the power to unite communities. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, which is a melting pot of people from different backgrounds. And I had this seminal moment that changed my life, where I was at a sporting event and I saw two people from different backgrounds embrace and hug following a goal. And I turned to my parents, and my mom's actually in the room. I turned to my parents and said, I need to work in that industry. And after some research and trying to understand what is this industry that is called sports, I said when I was 16, one day I'm going to be the commissioner of a professional sports league. I had no idea really what that meant, nor did I know how I was going to make that happen, except that I interned and worked for many years to try to find my way here. A lot of luck, a lot of hard work, a lot of being in the right place at the right time, but I think I'm probably one of a handful of people who knew what I want to do when I was very, very young.
That is incredible. So there's something to claiming it, right? Claim it. One of my sons says to me all the time, Mom, if you want it, just say it and claim it. And she's a living testament to that. So tell us this. I want to talk about the current job in a minute, but let's talk about the journey. Because we have in the room a lot of our ambassadors, clients, and folks who have come to us as they've navigated through a journey. And through that journey, they've had challenges and obstacles and all the things. I know you're a lawyer by trade. I don't know if a lot of people know that.
So are you.
Yes, we are. Sisters in spirit here. And you've navigated the law firm life. You've navigated all these different industry sectors, and I'm sure you've run into some challenges. So talk about how along the way, what were some of the most intense challenges you had to overcome, and how did you get through them?
Well, it's probably not surprising to anyone in the room that working in professional sports, and I'll put my current experience aside, very much the exception where I'm surrounded by incredible women. Most of my career was spent surrounded by men, particularly in the early days where I was oftentimes the only woman in the room, and at a time when there was certainly a movement towards hiring women, but not a lot of a focus on retention or promotion of women. And so there was a lot of comfort with women being present in the workplace, but not a lot of comfort with particularly ambitious women, which I was. And some of the challenges I wrestled with throughout my career were really around how do I continue to show up with my enthusiasm and my excitement for my future and my career while not overwhelming the people around me. And I definitely had a lot of missteps and foot faults along the way that forced me to recalibrate and understand how I hold on to the things that make me authentically me, that actually provide a value proposition, while understanding that there does have to be a calibration to be able to work within an ecosystem that has a lot of people who operate under a different premise for what's expected in the workplace, and being part of that change, meeting people where they are and bringing them along to help them to understand the value of what I hope is now more embraced, which is that bringing people together who approach things differently actually will get you to a different business result. That kind of narrative did not exist in the late 90s when I graduated from college. And so fortunate for those of you who have your careers in front of you, but also recognize that we now have new problems to solve. Yes. And so it's not as if everything is just easy now, and recognize that. So just really holding myself accountable to finding my inner strength, to believe in myself and have the confidence that I belonged there, as well as being open to the signs and signals around me that I needed to recalibrate. And that is almost a daily internal negotiation of really taking stock in how you're showing up. And I think this is still true today. How you're showing up, is it working? Is a new strategy required? What is the operating model of who you're trying to reach? And if you're not reaching the person that you're trying to work with, it's incumbent upon all of us to say, we have to try a different approach. And it may be because of your gender, maybe because of your working style, it may be because of the way you communicate, it may be because of a lot of reasons. Gender is obviously a big factor, but really just being open to those feedback loops. And I think I've, for a lot of reasons, been particularly open to those kinds of feedback loops.
I hope you all really heard it was a lot in there, right? So self-regulation, daily checking in, and trying to really work to help meet people where they're at and bring them along, right? I think those are, and they sound easy, but I'm sure many of you know it's not easy. And it never goes away, right? You mentioned something else about, kind of looking within and trying to make sure you remain confident. We talk a lot at Dress for Success about inspiring women to be confident. And I'm sure there are several of the women who come through our doors sitting right here today who will tell you when they came in the doors, they weren't confident. And after some time with us, they left with a newfound confidence. How do you navigate that confidence? Or another way, the question that I was asked to ask you was, do you ever feel like you're a victim of the imposter syndrome, or have you? I personally reject it. That's the way I manage it. But I'm curious to hear how you deal with confidence and potentially any imposter syndrome.
I can unequivocally say, for better or worse, I experience imposter syndrome every single day. I do. And I think it's important for me, at least, and again, I think people cope with it in different ways, to say that out loud, because if I do, then because of the role I'm in, of course, it's normal. It's normal to feel like you have these moments where it's like, is this real? Is this happening? I had it multiplied this past week because of some of the things going on with the league, where I was like, how did I actually get here? I had a moment where I literally, in my hotel room, we had the opportunity, which I'll share because it is like a celebration moment, where for the first time in the history of the National Women's Soccer League, we got the president and the White House to recognize our champions, Gotham FC, and we were in the White House this past week for the first time. It was an incredible moment, and when President Biden said to me, it's an honor to be the president that invites you, the league, and Gotham FC here, I went back to my hotel room when I went to pack my bag, and I laid on the ground and said, I must stay grounded. I must stay grounded. Like, how did this happen? I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. This was like a dream I had, and it actually is a reality, and I'm sitting there with the president? What? Like, that's crazy. But then I had to, pull myself together, do the Taylor Swift shake it off, and go back to being the CEO and know that the way I show up with confidence actually affects my entire organization. I can't live in the space of laying on the ground and patting the floor. I have to say that, give it space, respect the fact that I did feel that way, acknowledge it, be honest about that, and then pull myself together and go back to being what I sometimes say is like a CEO on TV. I literally feel sometimes like I'm playing a CEO on TV. I'm like, I know how to do this because I've seen other people do it. I've worked for CEOs. I've watched TV. There is no playbook. No one hands you, and this is why I pulled this group together. No one hands you a manual and says, you are now running an organization. You are responsible for inspiring the next generation of women and girls. Yes, Billie Jean King told you, my life's work depends on your success. Those things happened.
No pressure.
And then they're like, go do it. And you have no mentors, no peers, no one telling you what to do. And you're just like, for the first time in your life, I don't have a manager. That's really weird. I don't have anyone to go to. I report to 15 team owners who are billionaires and have other businesses. So they're entrusting me to figure this out, and that's real. That's wow, that's a lot to live with. And so I don't know. It would not be normal for me to not have imposter syndrome. That would not be normal for me to pretend that this is just what is supposed to happen, and that I'm somehow just magically qualified to do this.
It feels sometimes like an out-of-body experience, right?
Oh my God, I say that, I'm looking down on myself, is this real? I can't even believe it.
No, but see, this is the beautiful thing, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, with all the success and all the gains, just you stay grounded and you keep it real all the time. And, that's what leadership's all about. You just said something else that I want to touch on, and that's around that network of support. Because again, at Dress for Success, we try to make sure we provide that for our women because it's so important. How are you navigating now? Because our cohort group, we did a year together, we keep in touch, but there's no formal group anymore, right? So how do you keep yourself grounded with a network of support?
Well, I have the good fortune of, I think, relentlessly keeping my group of people together.
Yes.
I am obsessed with being a people collector. Those of you in this room, and I think I have my table over there of some of my people I've collected. I find strength in the people around me, like even being in this room, seeing you, seeing other inspiring leaders is what drives me to continue to grow and learn, challenge myself, but also just knowing and recognizing I can't do it by myself. Like, I had years where I was a single mom. I'm so fortunate I have Doug in my life now
Doug.
who helps lift me up and empowers me to be able to do all the things that I can do now. I feel so grateful to have a village of people who support me, and I think as women, I think systemically have an easier time giving ourselves permission to ask for help and lean on people. It's something I hope the men in the room will learn from women in many ways. Like, it's actually a sign of strength to ask for help and to say, and to give people the opportunity to be part of your story. I really do see it that way. When I ask for help, I view it as a gift, because now you get to be part of this. You get to feel like you were at the White House. You were.
Yep.
Like, you weren't literally at the White House, but you were at the White House. You can feel like, because you've enabled that, whether it's like taking care of some administrative task or something super important, that you were part of it.
Right.
And that it is true, none of us can do any of this alone.
That's right, absolutely. All right, couple of key questions here. So you have children, right? We have a lot of working moms in the room, and one of the things we hear a lot from the women we serve is, how they're trying to balance the hustle and the juggle of motherhood and work. How have you navigated that, especially during the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, I made a decision when my kids were younger that I was going to treat them like I would my employees. I know that sounds weird, but when you manage people and you are a leader, you would not just give someone who works for you a random assigned task. You wouldn't say, go there, without telling them why you think they need to go there. You explain the why. You bring them along on their journey. So when I say I treat my kids like my employees, what I mean is that I give them context. I help them understand the why, because it is a compromise. I'm asking my kids to sacrifice something every single day that I am allowed to, and give myself permission to go and do everything I can possibly do in my work. And again, it's about bringing them on the journey. If they don't understand why I need to be on the road for 4 nights this week, how could I possibly expect them to be okay with that? All they experience and are left with is that I'm gone. So they're left with a feeling of loss. Instead, they know, sadly, for the amount of things that they have to really digest and embrace, every single thing that's going on in my work life, and they keep up with it. And so, similar to the rationale of building your village, my kids feel part of everything that I'm doing, and so they're my biggest cheerleaders. One thing I will say that I do not experience, and apologies if this is like a lived reality for many women, I do not experience mom guilt. I really, really don't, because I believe that it is a gift to them that they see me thriving in the workplace, and that they have had to learn that they are not the only thing going on in my life, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
Yes.
And thank you. And it actually makes me a better mom.
Yeah.
I do feel like I can show up more authentically and holistically for them, because I feel like I'm a fully fulfilled human. I'm fully evolved. So when we're together, I'm like, I feel confident.
Yep.
I feel like I'm crushing my life, albeit like a duck with a lot of chaos around me. But when I show up for them, I'm not like resentful or mad at them. I'm like, thank you for being part of my journey, and how can I support you? And it almost feels like we have a mutual respect at this point. They're 13 and 16, where in many ways we're like trees. We live our lives, and we have our branches that intersect, but like I expect them to manage their life.
Yes.
Like, I'm not gonna do every single thing for you because I have important things to do. And if you can handle this, I'm going to expect you to handle it.
I think that's awesome. Let's give that a round of applause right there.
By the way, they don't always do it, as Doug is, I feel your eyes hearing
Doug
me.
is like, yeah, how about that?
Yeah, they don't always do it, but they're definitely not going to do it if you don't say it.
That's absolutely right. And you know what's funny? So Jess and I we were actually just comparing family calendars a few minutes ago, so we get how crazy this is. But what also happens too is when they get older, they're able to go off and be self-sufficient. Like they are able to thrive. So they don't even realize yet all of the rewards that you're giving them through raising them in this manner. So I am totally with you. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Next question. So you've had quite a journey. You've had great accomplishments. What advice would you give to the women in this room as they navigate their journeys, as they think about moving forward, perhaps as they think about changing roles or starting a new job? Just any general advice that you would give them to take away from things you've learned.
Yeah, I go back to the earlier part of the discussion where we were talking about taking stock in how you feel and doing self-assessments and really practicing routine. It doesn't have to be daily. It can be weekly. Sometimes it's monthly. Maybe it's twice a year. As often as you can really commit to it, to say, am I doing work that fulfills me? Do I feel valued? And if the answer is, I'm not sure, that's an okay answer, but then instead of doing monthly or yearly check-ins, maybe they go to weekly, maybe they go to daily. Or if the answer is no, definitively no, and it's not based on just a bad day, then do something about it. Put yourself in a position to action what is changeable. I have a lot of quotes and sayings in my office and in my house as reminders and cues. And, one of the things that I read often because I find it really helpful to keep me focused on the right things is the Serenity Prayer, which talks about the wisdom to know the difference between the things you can control and the things you can't control. What you can control is your life choices. You cannot control other people. You cannot change how someone sees you. They may see you differently because you choose to show up differently, but you are not going to literally change them. You can't change them. It took me a long, long time to stop trying to change people, and I oftentimes still creep into that space where I'm trying to change someone, and I'm like, ooh, it makes me, I now have a psychosomatic reaction to how that feels, where I have to back away. This is not healthy for me. If you are in a place where you feel like you're not fulfilled or not feeling valued or not given an opportunity to offer what you can to the world, whether that's personally or professionally, figure out how to change that. And you can't do that until you assess it and name it. And that, I think, is the hardest part for most people, because it's once you name it and assess it, you kind of have to do something about it. And so to me, whenever I talk to women who are in this, or anyone, candidly, who are in a place where they're it just doesn't feel right, well, really focusing on the what is causing you to feel not right? Do you not feel valued? Do you not feel like you're in the right role? Do you not feel like you're in a values-aligned organization? Do you not like working for the person you work for? Do you need a career change? Whatever it is, so then you can come up with your action plan for how to do something about it.
I love that. So it's another version of self-assessment and self-regulation to figure out what the best path forward is. I love that. Thank you for that. So talk to us about what's happening right now at soccer, how you're doing in the role, what's coming next, what's on the horizon.
Well, I'll save the confidential stuff for when we have our catch up. But
okay, cool.
For the first time, I think maybe in our lifetimes, women's sports has transcended the cultural zeitgeist of the world and our country in particular. What an incredible opportunity. How fortunate am I to be in a role to be part of that change, and in some ways with the incredible investors, players, and people who are working in our league, part of leading that. It's an incredible opportunity to redefine the way people think about the contribution of women in the world through sports. It is literally the reason I wanted to be the commissioner of a professional sports league. I can't even believe it's not only that I'm in that role, but our sport in particular has that opportunity, and even more so, I would argue, than any other sport, because unlike other sports, if everyone in this room closed their eyes and thought of greatness and soccer, you probably think of women in this country. And again, like, what an incredible opportunity for us to use that as our guiding force and light to change the way people think about women and girls, because they are they are the best in the world. Our players are the best in the world. They just won the gold medal this summer at the Olympics.
Woo!
But not only that, some of the changes we've made at the National Women's Soccer League actually intentionally are bringing the best talent in the world here as well. You cited our signings that have come in from overseas. And it really is a recognition that it is not, finally, it's not just the US who is investing in women soccer players, female soccer players. It's happening all over the world. And so in this summer's Olympics, by way of example, we didn't just have basically the entire U.S. women's national team. We actually had players on 11 of 12 teams competing.
Wow.
And on the gold medal match, we had 3/4 of the player on the pitch, so playing for both Brazil and the U.S. And so we have become an international league that is manifesting the vision of being the best league in the world, and it's an incredible opportunity through the globalization of sport.
Yes.
We are going into the end of our season. Our playoffs are beginning soon. We have our championship. I really do hope, when people say to me, how can we be part of this movement? Mostly the first thing everyone thinks of is we want to invest, which is great. And I love that people have like a ownership mindset. It's not the only way you can get involved. We want people to not only talk about it, but actually do something about it. Go to a game, watch a game, celebrate these incredible women. I promise you that when you see these women play on the field, you will be blown away. It is so entertaining. I've fallen in love with the game, and I just feel so fortunate.
That's awesome. It's actually really funny. I was talking to a player who plays in another league, a female player, and she said she went to her first women's soccer match. She goes, oh my gosh, she said the energy, the talent, she was blown away. And now she's taking her daughters, she's inviting her friends, so everybody should go definitely check out a game. That'd be awesome.
There's a team that plays right across the river, Gotham FC, and they just clinched for the playoffs, so they have a great team.
All right, woo! So last question, Jess, and I'm gonna let you go. What do you do in the spirit of all of this for your own well-being and self-care? We talk a lot about that at Dress for Success because we're all living such complex lives. What is your go-to for all things well-being and self-care?
Well, I define self-care broadly. I define self-care as basically anything that refills your bucket.
Yes.
Anything that recharges you, re-energizes you. For me, that is sleep. Most people who see the amount I work say, like, when do you sleep? Well, I actually sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. That is how I do what I do. I am obsessed with my family, my husband, my kids. I focus on the quality over quantity, knowing that when I am with them, I really want to get the most out of it, and it does refill my bucket. I'm a dog person. I have 3 dogs. Oh. Laying with them brings me incredible joy. I work out, I run, I do yoga. I love to travel. I love to spend time with people who come from different communities, different cultures, different backgrounds. I love to experience new experiences, and I am a adrenaline junkie. I love to do things that make me scared. I love to jump out of airplanes and bungee jump and whitewater raft and all kinds of crazy things like that. It helps me feel alive, and it helps me refill my bucket.
That's awesome. I love that. Let's give her a huge round of applause. Thank you so much, Jess.
Many women, and in particular women of color, deal with this thing we call the imposter syndrome. I know for me personally, in order to navigate this syndrome, I've decided to reject it. That's what I said. Yes, reject it. I believe in doubling down on our efforts to embrace confidence, to be prepared, to become a subject matter expert. And most of all, I believe that I am ready for new opportunities. It's a mindset. I really like to describe overcoming this syndrome as intentionally having a mindset shift. Own your confidence, be prepared, and believe that you can do it every single day. On the topic of embracing confidence, instead of feeling like I don't belong, what I do here is I focus on my skills and my efforts to be prepared in any situation. Because embracing confidence doesn't always happen immediately. It's a journey, and you learn through experience, you learn on being positive, and you always are successful when you're prepared. So one tip that I like to share with others is to be your biggest cheerleader. Know that you're on your game, know that you know your substance, and know that you can do it. Only we can be the biggest cheerleaders for ourselves. So I would just say, take that tip and put it in your back pocket. On support networks, remember that no one can travel their career journey alone. I'm always connecting with my fellow CEOs and other organizational leaders who I can network with, share best practices with, and we provide guidance to one another. I have a couple of chat groups that I belong to with current CEOs. And in my past roles, I've had chat groups and small groups with CHROs, CDOs, et cetera. And we've always been able to support each other, share insights, and navigate challenges together. When I first became a CEO, I actually joined a group of new CEOs. And for 1 year, we worked together in navigating our journey into this new realm of leadership. This actually really also helped me build my confidence. So when you really put your arms around being confident, accepting that you do belong, and embracing confidence, your journey will move forward in a very positive way. So I really hope that my personal experience can help guide you and other women in finding their own voice so that each of us can achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve in both our professional and personal journeys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another impactful episode of More Than the Dress. I am so glad that we were able to bring you such an inspirational conversation with my dear friend, Commissioner Jessica Berman. We hope that you'll join us again soon. And in the meantime, please visit dressforsuccess.org to learn more about our organization and follow us on social media at Dress for Success for the latest updates. This is Michele Meyer-Shipp signing off until next time. See you soon. Take care.